Grand Rising family, wholeness and balance. One love, what's up? Just Tree here. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Gonna go live with my buddy Michael. He'll be joining us momentarily. And just kind of have a chat. Here he comes. Hey there, Luz Luna, my friend. Good to see you, Grand Rising. Let's see, Michael, I saw your request and let you in, but for some reason it's not popping up yet. Here, let's try again. It's odd. Technology. Take away knowledge. Been having some interesting feelings about social media lately. Kind of harkening back to my original sense. I really enjoy all the wonderful people I get to meet here, like-minded people. But there's also a lot of caca on social media. Michael, I just tried to invite you. I canceled the invite and tried to invite you again. See if that. There we are.
Hey.
Hey, Grand Rising, Michael. Welcome, welcome.
Yes, you too, brother. How are you? I always like that. It's always so weird at the beginning of these things. It's like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? It's like technology is so bizarre.
Yeah, I feel that. I've been feeling that a lot with technology lately, just in general, with respect to social media. Just because you know how it is. You and I were both here long before the social media, and just the authenticness of interaction and relationship, you know. But I feel that with you. I feel that with everybody that I connect with here. That I have some real friends that I've met through social media that I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to meet. But you know, uh, there are drawbacks, and I think the way social media has been devised is got all these algorithms that psychoanalyze you and sort of jab at your insecurities and uh, different stuff. So, but it's like any tool. If you can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use it to smash someone's head in. So, we try to use it in an appropriate, beneficial way.
Yeah,
But
I think it's like there's a dual-edged sword to all of this, right? And I'm grateful that we've had the opportunity to meet and connect here at the same time, which is great. I mean, at the same time, it's also just not the same as seeing somebody belly to belly. Do you know what I mean? It's just not the same, right? Um, Again, so I'm grateful for these opportunities and grateful for these connections I've met because I've met some really fabulous people. But I also feel like uh, there's a need to physically connect with some of the people that I've connected with. You happen to be one, right? Krishna, Krishna. I think Krishna is also another friend of mine. Now I went down to Sedona and spent some time with him this summer. Hopefully, if we end up going to Mexico, we'll pass by you, right? And but I think it's important to still have that desire to connect with people because that is what I think is, well, in many ways, is at the core of many of the problems that we're facing as a human race.
I agree wholeheartedly. You can't really. You can feel the connection, but it's something different when you can feel the energy when you're in the same space as someone else. And you can, just hug them. Whatever. Have a. There's just more of an energy exchange that just doesn't happen through, you know, Instagram Live or Zoom or, these kinds of things. But I've met some of the best people in the last 3 years, you know, not 3 years. I guess it's more like 5 or 6 years that I've been on here, and I'm super grateful for that. And we've been able to meet belly to belly. But I agree also that like I feel like there's a ploy for division, you know, sort of a divide and conquer mentality from the technocracy and the, you know, military industrial complex, so to speak, you know, that.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the issues I think we face again as humanity is that we have become disconnected, right? And this has been going on for a long time, and you know, it would appear it's by design now, which is even more disturbing. Um, and I think we've mentioned this. I mentioned this, or we've talked about this in previous calls. Is that one of the things that there's steps to this, right? If you start getting disconnected from people in general, right? Just having conversations, having dialogue, having meaningful interaction, you also then start to lose a connection to a higher spirit or consciousness or God, whatever you'd like to call it, right? And once you get there, the only thing you're focused on is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we are living in an era, in my opinion, where there are many, many people in this boat, and it's a sinking boat, right? I mean, if all you care about is yourself, there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Yeah,
solutions. There's no solutions. There's no interactions, and this is a problem.
I totally agree. I feel like, you know, I've been sort of renewing my Buddhist spiritual vows and uh, going back and, you know, in college, I studied Buddhism pretty thoroughly. I started learning Sanskrit, and I took many classes about Buddhism, and I spent some time in a monastery, and it was some of the most expansive, freeing, uh, joyful time of my life, and lots of time connected with other people, you know, pre social media, where, you know, we were just sharing this sense. And one of the things in Buddhism that they talk about is one of the main thing that causes our suffering is sort of a self-cherishing, clinging sense to, you know, oh, I got to get my, you know, money together and my happiness and my, you know, and I think social media sort of feeds this, and really our happiness is greater accomplished when we focus our mind on uh, the freeing and the benefit of all sentient beings. And that includes us. That's not exclusive. You have to include yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to the, they've done studies on this too, that we actually feel just as good, if not better, by doing something nice for someone else than as if we received that thing ourselves.
Often it's more so.
Right.
Yeah, often it's more so. And um, I mean, just sort of backtracking before we dive a little deeper into that, is that there's also a wall here that we put up because, okay, do you ever get angry, Jesse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too, right? But do you ever see those interactions on here?
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't see that.
You
You don't see
you
any of
only
that.
see the pleasant side. Yeah.
Right. You know, and we're human. We're filled with all sorts of different emotions, feelings, and whatever. Of which the way we conquer those is one through and not conquer, but one of the ways we learn to deal with those things is one by introspection, one by learning about ourselves. But one of the greatest tools about learning about ourselves is interaction with other people, and
Mm-hmm.
mostly in situations that aren't great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I know more about myself through the interactions that have been difficult with my spouse than many other things. Do you know what I mean? But we don't see that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's, you know, the greatest place for spiritual advancement is through relationship, because there is this reflection in this mirror. And also, you know, we do all this spiritual practice, you know, meditation and focusing and mantra and, you know, sort of self work and study. But what's, you know, it's easy to feel like spiritual and happy when everything's good. You
Right.
know, what's more challenging is when things are bad, when things are really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I went through an experience with my middle son who has a neurological condition, you know, that got worsened when, you know, I won't go into details out of respect for him, but he was in a place where he was like smashing the walls of my house. And like, it, I, you know, what came out of me was like this anger, you know, because I knew that he was not really in control of this. And you know, in the meanwhile, my house is breaking. I can't sleep. And, you
Right.
know, and it was like that anger was me grasping at control of the
Yep.
situation, you know, and it caused me this extremely deep reflecting period of like, what is it? Why would I seek to control that through anger instead of through acceptance and loving kindness? And, you know, and it's this thing I've been getting into again in Buddhism of this, the eight worldly concerns of
Mm-hmm.
gain and loss. What is it? Pleasure and pain, um, sort of your reputation, like shame or praise,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what's the other one? Anyway, you get the idea, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and the when we can let go of all those things and center our mind on this loving kindness, you know, and develop that mentality in all situations, the
Mm-hmm.
good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. That's where you really, you know, growing spiritually the
Right.
most.
And the interesting thing about what the eight precepts, as you just mentioned, is their polarity, right? Everything in the universe is a pulsation, right? So there means everything in the universe has an opposite: love, hate, light, dark, whatever. So to stand in a place of love and light and compassion, you also have to understand the dark and have
Mm-hmm,
experienced the dark, because if you haven't experienced the dark, you don't know what the other is,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right? And
mm-hmm.
this is, again, in this talking, going back to talking about this medium, you don't see the dark side. Do you know what I mean? You don't see the struggle, right? You don't see the struggle. You see a lot of people sitting on a beach in lotus position, and and stands and yada yada yada, right? And which is great, but it can be very misleading, right? Because there's an idyllic portrayal here of life that's not life,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every day, tell me, is there a day that you don't face certain struggles? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
every day I have the struggles that we face. Now, I don't mean that in a big, scenario, but there's always stuff, right? And that's where we learn. That's where we grow, hopefully, right?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start coming on social media like when I'm all bleary eyed and my hair is all twisted and just brush my teeth, you know,
Right.
just
Yeah.
some more. I
Yeah.
crave that realness, more realness in this medium, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I
Um,
used to, as you know, I've been a full-time yoga teacher for 30 plus years, and I've trained many yoga teachers. And one of the things I said, people say, you know, well, what is yoga? And I try to narrow it down because it's a big topic, right? And I said, can you get up every morning, look yourself in the mirror, see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
just accept it as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But recognize it, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And this is where we don't see these things at times in this medium, right? Now, I think this is an interesting thing that we're actually discussing, because most people don't even discuss it.
Yeah, I like it. I like having this conversation with
Right.
you. I like that it was unplanned and we just jumped into it,
Yeah.
you know. But it's authentically what's on my heart and mind, you know. And I've been working with this other Buddhist practice of just check in like 3 times an hour, uh, with how you're feeling. Just like be remember, you don't have to like try to change it, or like, am I frustrated? Am I like, happy? Am I at ease? Am I anxious? Just check in and notice, you know, um, because I think there's this propensity, for human beings to kind of move into the delusional states of mind, like, and that this medium of social media really kind of, you know, uh, propagates this, like, the eight worldly concerns of pleasure and pain. We're always showing just the pleasure, not the pain. you
Mhm.
know uh, Gain and loss. Most of us are on here, I know I am authentically here trying to build my business,
Sure.
as
Yeah.
well as my community and
Mhm.
things that I want, and your reputation, and all those things are all connected with it. you know and I really want this to be a potential for my spiritual growth and all forms of growth. And so, just to uh, sort of like be a matrix buster, and go against the algorithms a little bit, and be a little more maybe rough around the edges, and not so perfect, all the time, and just um, I don't know what I'm getting at here, just that it feels like we're going to need to exert some effort, especially working with this medium, to maintain or grow in an authentic way in community and in consciousness and in spirit, you know, and it's a challenge.
Yeah,
It's a real
I
challenge.
think this medium is multifaceted, right? There's a marketing end of this medium, right? Which, we both have businesses that are connected to this, right?
Mhm.
In terms of getting out and reaching people, which I think is really viable, right?
It's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, um, but there's also, uh, and this is my core values. So my core values are about integrity, right? Integrity, honesty, love, compassion, forgiveness fall out of all of those as well. Well, they're probably head, the other follows, right? So, from the marketing aspect of things, and trust me, because I used to work for the two largest advertising agencies in the world before I became a yoga teacher, right?
Mm.
So I've seen the other side. To me, I have to do it from a place of being authentic and with integrity and honesty. Now, is that going to be the best scenario? I don't, for making money, I don't know. I don't really care because I've tried the other, and I firmly believe at my core, people know the difference, right?
Hmm.
They do
Oh
know
yeah.
the difference, right? And this goes back to the start of this conversation, where is, you know, it's so easy to put up a front here without seeing the whole person and believing that's exactly right. So, you know, uh, all from the way you present yourself and come on here or whatever. So I just come on as I am now. And it's like, hey, this is me. This is what I'm about. As you know, I do the affirmations of the day. I'm not in makeup and do shit before I do them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come to me and I do them, right? And it could be outside, could be inside, could be wherever, right?
Yeah.
And but that's my choice. But that's my choice based on the qualities that you're talking about, right? Like so, um, to me, love, compassion, and forgiveness are the answer. They're always the answer to everything, quite frankly. And love is ultimately the answer to everything. But you can't learn that unless you've faced hatred and you've faced people who are not compassionate and you've faced non-forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
So, or
In a
or
way,
or situations in your life, and often, sorry to continue,
no.
often families are our greatest teachers, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not necessarily saying immediate family, but well, immediate family, fathers, mothers, whatever, because I know for me, I've been involved in the spiritual work for, well, I hate even call that, that seems very arrogant when you say that, but you know what I mean, for a long period of time. But I could go home and in 3 minutes my father could plug me right out of the realm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. In a way, there's a lot of potential in this medium of social media because you will be faced with people who will give you lots of praise,
Mm-hmm.
and you will be faced with people who are gonna hate on you, you
Yeah.
know. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of practice at a distance, you know, in a way with that for those more personal relationships where you have more at stake, you know,
Right.
um, with like your spouse or your family, you know, your father, your, you know, and and it's, you know, the other thing for me, like I tried to avoid social media very strongly, and my wife had a Facebook page, and all my friends were hitting her up on her Facebook page, and she was like, "I'm making you a Facebook page," and so she did, and then all these people came and I hadn't talked to them in years, and it was like it was really cool, you know, to be reconnected and see their families and where they're going, and that's kind of the hook of the thing, you know. Um, but uh, you know, I just feel like now, you know, there's all manner of like Rinpoches and yogis and people who are, you know, sort of very spiritually attuned and authentic, you know, that are in this sphere. And it is a platform to be able to reach more people and share, you know, the common vision, you know, like our common
Huge.
vision with Curium,
Yeah.
you know, to heal people through raw foods. That's authentically been our healing path, you know, what's been,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, it's meaningful to be able to, because we do need to make this shift collectively. And I remember before social media, this sense of being, you know, isolated, you know, and that, you know, a feeling of like, I'm the only one doing this, you know, or what have you. Whereas now I see so many people who, if you look back at, you know, the 80s, how many people were doing yoga and, you know, meditating and eating, you know, raw organic food and like, you know, studying occult wisdom and, you know, and now that's like mainstream, you know, psychedelic vision medicine, all that's like mainstream. And I feel like it's a sign of our collective quickening and awakening. But it's also at the same time one of the stumbling blocks we have to come over, because I really feel like this is the highest tech in the universe. And if we tap into this, like our pineal gland has this microcrystalline structure that works like wireless internet, we could be connecting on other planes of, you know, reality by really spending the time, you know, connecting in the deepest, most way with our own selves. But
Right.
it's an interesting thing for sure.
Well, I mean, going back to this thing, see, there's so many different multi levels of connection with this platform. Like, for instance, uh, we connected because obviously there were. Well, let's look at it. So there's this guy Jesse. You know, he's got to think, oh, I'm gonna like it. So Jesse's going, oh, this guy likes my stuff. Jesse's liking my stuff. Oh, so we're friends. He's liking it. Well, are we friends? I don't know, right? Because all you've been doing is liking this, and I'm liking that, and that's a certain level, and people can be very addicted to that. Oh, I got a bunch of friends out there, right? I got a bunch of people that love my stuff or like your stuff, and you extrapolate that to, oh, they love what I'm doing, right? They love me, blah blah blah. All that's a false sense of security. All that's false, right? Now the difference is we've actually reached out and we've now connected this way. So that's another level, right? And then the other level will be meeting personally, right? So there's so many different, you know, realms, as in Buddhism. There's different realms. There's so many different realms of this that can be positive and can put people in a false sense of what reality is, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, you talking about, you know, raw foods, this, that, and whatever. You know, in one sense, it's been around for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, has it been mainstream? I still don't know if I would go as far as saying mainstream with raw, you know,
Yeah.
but there's a movement, right? And like let's take it further back to, you know, You know, there was a vegetarian thing for a long time, you know, and there's a vegan thing. And that's growing. And I think that's great that, personally, from my opinion, I think that's great that that's growing, because that's, to me, that's also very much tied into, you know, you're talking about sentient beings and the fact that, you know, why am I any different than a cow? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And there's an understanding that's becoming, that understanding of that to me is deepening every moment now, right? It's becoming even deeper, right? Because I think there's, again, I can only talk about my journey. You know, there can be, yeah, and I care about the animals. Well, do I really care about the animals? And I mean, you know, but that's what I mean. There's an educational process. Um, and raw vegan, which I know you are, I believe, and I'm probably, you know, somewhere in the 90% range, right?
Mhm.
I just see, I understand the benefits. I see it now. Where I, so is it growing and it's out there? Absolutely. There's still a lot of people who are very resistant about the idea, or are very stuck in the traditional paradigm and, you know, standard American diet and so forth and so on, and, you know, very attached to their animal products, whatever. But I do believe it's growing in the right direction, right? And oh, well, what I was getting at is I don't know how you can, to me now, I don't know how you can have a spiritual life if you got meat on your plate. Now,
You
some
know,
some
I
people may
agree.
get really upset at that, but
I totally want to be in accept and, you know, respect the everybody's dignity of choice, and I
yes,
do. And
yeah,
I do see people like my friends who are Native American who have, you know, a direct relationship with like the deer, you
yeah,
know. And they dance for the deer and they pray for the deer and they offer to the deer and they eat the deer,
yeah.
you know. Um, but you know, in terms of this medium of social media and
But are they
intention,
are they are
my
they
spirit,
hunting? They're hunting the deer.
yeah. So they
It's not factory farmed. It's not factory done. It's
there's
not
not that
it's not
separation.
cattle grazing and taking over land and so forth and so on. There's a big difference. Yeah,
Hugely, hugely, and you know, I feel like that, you know, pretty much everyone I know eats meat. I'm the only vegan I know. I have a few friends that are vegetarian, you know. That's all that's all good. I totally am okay with that. Um, I know that for myself, I want to be as gentle a person as I can.
mm-hmm.
And I remember that from the days when I ate meat. Like I was definitely more aggressive, you know, in my mind space, you know, and I feel like there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, and then beyond that, uh, there's this whole thing. You know, I'm a permaculturalist, and my love of
Right.
because this also connects with my spiritual path of like um, not only do no harm, but to create benefit for all sentient beings,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and our current methods of agriculture, whether that's animal husbandry or, uh, you know, growing vegetables is very violent. You know, the conventional system of
Yeah.
chemical agriculture and tilling
Right.
soil and factory farm lots, you know, with, you know, thousands of cows, you know, and um, so I do believe through permaculture that we have an opportunity to transform that and that we can actually create benefit to all sentient beings on the earth
Yeah.
through design and proper, you know, regenerative agricultural practice, you know.
One hundred
But
percent. And I
you have
think,
something you want to add?
no, I think to go back to the beginning of your statement, you can't shame anybody, and that never works. It doesn't help, right? The only way you can facilitate change is through your own actions, and by that I mean that people see you and go, oh, you know, I see what this guy's doing, and you know, he seems to be leading a pretty good life, and he's looking good, you know, whatever. Like, you know, I continually get for people because, like, I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but I'm 67, right? Soon
Mhm.
to be 68. And people, go, geez, you can't be 67, you can't be 68. I am. So that's, even that is by, well, the guy, people go, well, he's got to be doing something, this
Mhm.
organ for him, right? And it's by example. Then, then people start to inquire, and then you can start the process of education. But education can't be trying to beat somebody over the head with a message, because
Mhm.
you have to understand where people are. If 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 I want people to feel empathy towards me, then I have to be empathetic towards them, right?
Mhm.
If I want people to love me, then I have to love them. It works both ways, right? If I want people to understand me, I have to also understand them, even though I may not agree with what
Mhm.
they're doing, right? That
Yes.
and that's people misunderstand that. Just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean that we can't have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Now, there may be some big things that get in the way with that, but you know what I mean, right? I mean, you know, and quite frankly, you learn through difference, right? You learn through differences. Like, you're going to share different points of view and different opinions that I may not have. Some I may agree with, some I may not. But that's where the learning occurs.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's where we really get to flex our spiritual, growth and power, is in loving acceptance of things as they are, as people as they are, and that you know deeper place of listening, to people and what their challenges are, and why they do what they do, and because people don't do stuff without a reason, that we're beings of pleasure and of habit, and we find something that works for us, that makes us happy, then we continue to do it. But
Right.
sometimes you do that to a detriment. At a certain point, you don't want to cling to the things that make you happy. Um,
Or
and
that you think are right or wrong, right?
yeah,
And
right.
and and if we've gone through, and if you look at the last 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is now, I've lost count, right? Uh, Potentially the greatest time of learning in the history of mankind to some extent, right? And so, in other words, let's just, without getting into detail here, I'll put it in a sort of a roundabout way. Just with respect to health over the last 4, I'm not saying you, but someone else, you make a certain choice of how you feel you need to deal with your health and well-being. Great. I accept that fully. Whatever decisions you have to make, 100%. But that also then means to me, then you need to accept my decisions of what
Hmm.
I choose to do for myself in terms of
Hmm.
my health and well-being. And we didn't see that, right? We saw vast camps that going, you have to, now some of this is governmentally controlled and directed and so forth and so on, but just on a base level, like whatever decisions someone wanted to make, I'm okay with. That's your decision, right? I did my research, I did my thing, and I came to my conclusion of what I felt was best for me, and I'm happy with that. So there's no dogma to it, right? It's no dogma in the sense that, well, I'm right and you're wrong. It has nothing to do with that. Just, this is my choice.
Hmm.
And if you want me to accept your choice, then I think equally it seems reasonable you should accept mine.
Yes, I think that's something we need to nurture, ever more in, the coming days, months, years, is a sense of loving acceptance, as a sort of a cultural value, because
100%.
there is this thing, that came through with the pandemic of, of sort of a threatening of our medical freedom, of our ability to choose for ourselves, what we're going to do. And we have to guard that. We have to, like, and I think one of the best ways is really, I mean, I lost some friends during the pandemic just because I was saying on social media, I just want to respect everyone's dignity of choice, and I want my dignity of choice respected.
Right.
And people were like, no, I don't respect that. And that, that hurt. That was wounding. I some
Yeah.
very near people that are near to me, but it's the kind of thing of like, you got to know when to let go, and when a certain relationship is, fulfilled its potential, and, to not cling to it, and not take things personally,
This
but
is where hopefully people learn that fear is the mind killer. Fear is the worst aspect of ego that humanity has. And this is what happens. And we've seen what happens when people get fearful, how it can affect their decision making and so forth and so on, right? And that's the scary thing. I mean, I look, I've been what I'm about to say I've been saying for a long time. And in one way it can be described as being very simple, but I think it's a very complex thing for people to grasp. And that is, we're all one. We're all human beings. Okay. This is just the base scenario.
mhm,
And if you can understand that and accept that, right, that we're all one consciousness, we're all human beings. So we're all the same. And if you can understand that and grasp that, only then can you celebrate our differences. Not that we're different, but we have differences, right? In other words, you're a better looking guy than I am, so there's a difference. There's differences. We have stuff, right? Doesn't mean you're different, right? And this is where acceptance can grow, is that, hey, you're a human being. You're a sentient being. You're a human being. You're part of this human race. And you have differences as I have differences. We've grown up in different hemispheres, so forth and so on. And isn't that fantastic, right?
mhm.
Can't we embrace the differences that are absolutely spectacular, as opposed to going, well, I'm different than you are, and therefore I'm right and you're wrong, and we've created a problem.
Yeah, to fall in love with the differences, the
Yes.
diversity, the uniqueness
Yeah.
of everyone, how beautiful it is that everyone is, different, and that we
Yeah.
are all one consciousness. We're inextricably connected with all life throughout the universe. But that's the beauty, is that, did you ever read The Law of One?
Yeah.
Now, this whole thing of like God broke itself into a million pieces to have a varied experience, and so this is the opportunity that creation has made,
Well,
you know.
I'll rephrase that for you. Okay. Consciousness at a consciousness level is just there. It is, right? There's no time, there's no space, or nothing. So consciousness has chosen to manifest itself down into the manifest world. We're part of the manifest world. And why? Well, the answer is it gets to experience itself differently in everything it's in, right?
Mhm,
So you and I are the same consciousness, but consciousness itself is experiencing itself differently in you than it is in me, right? We're in different areas, we're different people, we're different experiences, whatever, right? That I think is fantastic. That's like, wow, great. Same consciousness experiences itself differently in each and everything and in everything.
mhm, mhm.
A beautiful
Yeah.
concept. It's the same
It-
thing as the same thing is that God has fragmented itself down into different things. Why? So God is experiencing itself, all the aspects of itself differently in everything.
I love it. I completely love it, and it brings to mind, that uh, this is something that we need to culture and, nurture in ourselves and one another. And one of the things the Buddhists talk about, in terms of like this consciousness being in all things, this Buddha consciousness being and everything, but that, in the process of, you know, reincarnation and rebirth, that we have been each other's mothers,
Yeah.
we and to start to view to literally view all beings as your mother, you know, your divine mother, so, who loved you with the best intentions and with all of her spirit, and uh, to realize that, to think of that as a reality, so
It
that
is.
you would never, maybe you have differences with your mother, but I know there's times when I've said things to my mom that I wish I hadn't, that I
Right.
really regretted, you know, and to think of each other in that way,
Right.
and be like, and to apologize, when we do something like that, and you know, to not think of our relationships in such of a disposable way, uh, but to realize, how precious and valuable all of our connections are.
Well, they go on and on and on, right? This is the whole thing of reincarnation, or they go on and on and on. And the interesting thing is science has finally caught up to spiritual concepts, right? Quantum physics. What are we? We're energy. We know we're energy. We're a body of energy, right? And what does science say? What spirituality has been saying? Energy never dies. It just changes form,
Hmm.
right? So this energy that's us isn't going to die. It's just going to change form.
Right. The
Right.
the first law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is what spirituality has been saying forever,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, and quantum entanglement. You
Yeah,
know, that literally all of our atoms were one. At the during the Big Bang,
yeah.
and the explosion of consciousness and matter is still part of that unity of oneness.
Which goes back to the same thing, oneness. We're all the same.
Hmm. All
Yeah,
is one. Yes.
exactly. And to me, that creates, and I'm okay. So I need to put a caveat to this because I there are moments where I'm not in this space, right? But to me, it creates a responsibility in terms of your interaction with other people, right? Because really you're interacting with yourself. So if I get angry at you, the person I'm really getting angry at is me.
Hmm.
And that's a big learning, right? That's a big learning. At least to
Hmm.
me, I think it's a big learning.
Oh, absolutely. I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says. He talks about, when those things happen, like to recognize it and to like be like, my beloved, I'm sorry, I'm hurting, I'm in anger, I'm in, to like just say it,
Yeah.
but not project it as an energy, but to recognize it, and and realize, there's other sayings. I think there's like an
This
African
is,
saying of like, anger is a fire that burns the person who holds it, you
yes,
know.
more than
Um,
anything else. It's also
yeah,
why I love the Hawaiian prayer, right? I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you,
yes, yes,
right? All,
yeah.
and that's the interesting thing I think about all of these things, that they're all virtually the same message, right? Which is sort of ironic when you think about it. It's all the same message, and why we're obviously, as a race, we're a bit of a slow learner.
But it speaks to the universality of it, that,
Yeah,
doesn't matter where on the earth, what the culture, it's
exactly.
these things are part of being a human being,
Yeah,
and that we have a rare opportunity as a human being, that we can take advantage of in this life to really grow into something maybe even more, in terms of consciousness and being, you know.
and I'll tell you something that happened the other day. Because if you keep your eyes open, there's always stuff that happens, right? It's like, oh, geez, especially I almost kicked the phone over. especially if you're, you know, in moments or whatever. So I went to the store the other day to pick up some stuff. It was dark. It was like 5 o'clock here because it's dark here now, right? It's cold. It's winter. And there's a lineup. I wait. I'm at the health store getting stuff. I wait. I get to the cash, and I don't have my wallet, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I and I'm there all the time. So I go to the manager, and he says, "Well, I, I said, can I come and pay the bill tomorrow?" He says, "Well, I can't do that because of the processes we have." There's a guy who works in the store. Says, "Look, I'll put on my credit card. Just give me the cash tomorrow."
Nice.
And those are the moments you go, yes, there's still people, there's still people out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes,
And
yes,
there's lots of people out there. It's not just some. There's lots of people out there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And, the more we can uh, be in that place of,
Can you forgive
you
me
know,
for 1 minute, Jess? I just got to take care of a dog.
sure,
Sorry.
sure.
I'll be right back.
I see my son is on here. Hi, Jonah. Great to see you, son. Hope you're having fun on your adventure. My son's on a train trip right now. But yeah, I'm kind of waiting for Michael to come back because this thought is still juicy in me of let's bring that culture back of caring about each other in all the ways possible. Yeah, Jonah, he says he's crazy to see green in December. Look what we got outside. It's snowing like the Dickens. So he
Oh,
goes,
you got some snow.
yeah.
Yeah, funny enough, we don't have any snow here in Toronto at the moment. Like I know my friends in Quebec have snow, which is interesting. And being in the country and having snow is great. Being in the city and having snow is not so fun.
Yeah.
Not that I'm in the
Yeah.
city, but yeah.
I used to love, I'm a snowboarder, I used to love snow so much, but as time goes on, I kind of want to move to the tropics just because
Yeah.
I'm tired of the cold.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in New Mexico, born and grown up in New Mexico, been here my whole life.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I'm a very local person. I've spent my whole life in the same 300 square miles. And my wife has been here for 13, her family's been here for 13 generations.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. Well, I'm hoping on our way down that we'll get a chance to connect in person.
That would be lovely, Michael. I
Yeah.
would greatly appreciate that, and making these relationships that we form online more palpably real by being belly to belly
Yeah.
and
And
sharing energy and time.
I agree. I think it's important. So,
Yeah.
well, listen, thanks for spending the time, brother.
My pleasure, Michael. Great to
Have a
see you,
wonderful
my friend.
day. As
Yeah.
always, peace out, bro.
All right, you too. One love, family. Thanks for joining.
Okay, you
Enjoy
too.
the
Have a
beach,
great day.
Jonah.
Ciao, man.
All right. Peace.